My story began when I had just finished a gruelingly long shift one Friday night in my office. I worked for a law firm, and I had been assigned to a very prestigious case, so I had no choice but to burn the midnight oil. As far as I could tell, I was the last person in the building, apart from the janitorial and security personnel. I knew everyone by name as I had been employed there for several years and would often be there working into the early hours of the morning. I was just about to make my way to the elevators and head home when something caught my attention. I didn't recognize one of the janitors working on my floor, which I found to be more than a little bit suspicious, which left me with an uneasy feeling in my stomach. I approached him and demanded to see his employee ID card, but he pretended to not understand English and walked away from me. I knew right then that he was an infiltrator, sent here by one of our rival law firms on some sort of unethical industrial espionage mission. If this son of a bitch thought he was going to pull the wool over my eyes, he had another thing coming. I knew I had to act fast if I were to have any chance of preventing this imposter from putting his evil scheme into effect. I stealthily followed him and waited for the perfect opportunity to strike. I noticed him open the janitor's closet in an obvious attempt to maintain his despicable charade. This was my chance. I grabbed a lamp off a nearby desk and ran up behind the phony janitor. I struck him hard on the back of his head, incapacitating him in an instant. I then roughly shoved him into the closet and slammed the door closed before locking it with the keys he surely must have stolen. With the spy safely locked up, it was time to alert the authorities and have him brought to justice. I took the elevator down to the ground floor and was making my way to the reception desk. There was no one there, which was unusual, but I assumed he must have gone to the bathroom or something. On the desk, there was a two-way radio, and I could hear Frank, who was the head janitor overseeing all of the custodian staff. He was asking if anyone had seen Pasquale, and a sudden feeling of dread washed over me. It turned out that it was Pasquale's first day on the job, which explained why I didn't recognize him. I decided to leave the building immediately and never tell a soul of my actions that night. After all, this was an honest mistake, so there was no reason why I should have to do any time over this. I was confident that Frank would eventually find Pasquale, and hopefully no one would be any the wiser as to who was responsible. When I returned to the office the following Monday, the police had completely cordoned off the area. I later found out that they had only discovered Pasquale's body in the closet earlier that morning. He'd been in there the entire weekend and had sadly suffocated. His bowels had also released all over the closet, which could still be smelled for weeks after that. Although I was initially brought in for questioning, the police didn't have enough evidence to convict me. I still work at the same law firm and have gone on to have quite the successful career, which is more than could be said for Pasquale's widow and her 6 kids.